Hello and welcome back to another UCL fantasy video. Today we're taking a look at match day 14, which has taken us into the second leg of the quarterfinals. We're going to take a look at everything that you need to know for the quarterfinals second leg, and that's going to include clean sheet odds, goal odds, the projected draw, some possible players that you might want to look at taking out, and some possible players you might want to look at bringing in as well. As it stands, this is how it's looking for our transfer situation. We're given 3 transfers before heading into match day 14, obviously to tweak our teams that could potentially get eliminated, looking to bring them out, and of course maximising our squad for match day 14. We're obviously given 5 transfers after this week before heading into the semi-final to get rid of any eliminated players, anyone who could potentially be injured as well. But at this moment in time, it doesn't seem as though there is going to be too many shocks. I think a lot of us should have a lot of Barca and a lot of PSG players, and it looks like they are looking pretty secure heading into the semis. So you could use your 3 transfers this week for a couple of punts, maybe some Real Madrid players. Obviously they need to stage a big comeback against Arsenal, but they aren't looking likely to go through. If you've got 5 transfers in the next round, you could, if you don't have a lot of eliminations, go for some Real Madrid players, and you could just use one of those transfers to move them back out for the semi-finals if they do get eliminated. So that's just a couple of things that you can think of. We'll of course explain all of it in today's video, so let's jump straight into it. So there has been a couple of changes to last week's projected draw. We have 2 teams who are now projected to make the semis who weren't last week, and that is Arsenal and Inter Milan. Now, starting off with Inter Milan, we of course seen last week that Bayern were actually the favourites to go through against Inter, and I did say that I did think the bookies were heavily underestimating Inter, and I personally thought Inter would have been the favourites to go through. They ended up beating Bayern Munich, and they're now given a 75% chance of going through to the semi-finals to go up against Barcelona. Now, Barcelona are looking almost guaranteed to be Inter or Bayern Munich's semi-final opponent, who are given a 100% chance by the bookies to go through to the semis. So that is obviously good news. Again, we all should probably have a lot of Barcelona players, 4 if not 5 Barca players in our team, which should be locked in for the semis, which is ideal. And then they're going into probably I would say the easiest fixture of the semi-finals. I don't want to underestimate Inter, as I already said, but either Real Madrid, Arsenal or PSG, I think Inter is probably the weakest one out of the 4, so that is going to be good for Barcelona assets. But all 4 teams, of course, massively strong. PSG are given a 93% chance of going through against Aston Villa. Still really good players to have in your squad. Again, you probably have 5 by now, which is, 2/3 of your team, 10 out of 15 are probably taken by PSG and Barca players. So you definitely do have some room for some gambles this week, if you want to make the most use out of your 5 transfers heading into the semi-finals. Now, Arsenal, obviously Real Madrid were given, the highest chance of going through in that fixture. Now only a 15% chance of making it through, but again, they're a 3-0 deficit in a match at the Bernabeu in the Champions League. Everyone knows, we've seen in past seasons what can happen there. So Real Madrid attackers are definitely under consideration, even though they're only given a 15% chance to go through. Vinicius Jr., Jude Bellingham, Kylian Mbappe, all really nice options and potential captains as well. With Arsenal, if you've got the likes of Saliba, Raya, would probably be looking to take them out this week, because I do not think Arsenal are keeping a clean sheet. And, the likes of Saliba, for example, Timber, they aren't huge for ball recoveries usually, so I don't think they are going to be 2 great options for this week, and I think you could potentially move them out for players who do get ball recoveries. I don't think there is going to be a lot of clean sheets either this week. We will look at the clean sheet odds and speak more about that, but first let's take a look at the fixtures. So I have switched up the fixture ticker a little bit from your classic fixture ticker to the chance of each team winning in the specific match day. So a little bit easier to take a look at the fixtures, because obviously with it being the quarterfinals now, every fixture is going to be difficult, and I don't want to just have red fixtures all over the place. So to give a better idea of what the better fixtures are. We've took the odds of each team winning in that specific match day. Now that's not going to be the overall tie, that is just going to be that match. So any team with a 50% chance of winning is given a green fixture, 40% is given orange, 30% is given yellow, and anything below 30% chance of winning is given a red fixture. So our good fixtures this week are given to Barcelona and Real Madrid. Barcelona, of course, we've already mentioned it. You probably have 5 players already. If not, is looking like a good option because Barca are almost guaranteed into the semi-finals and have a nice fixture this week. Now in matchday 14, Barcelona and PSG are both playing, which is ideal for our substitutes because we're probably going to have 9-10 plus players playing on Tuesday, which gives us the most options possible when it comes to taking players off from the bench for our lowest scoring players on Tuesday. Obviously in matchday 13, a lot of us only had 3 to 5 players playing on Tuesday, which wasn't ideal, and I've seen a lot of people having to leave players on the bench, which is never ideal for UCL fantasy. But this week it's looking good. Obviously when it comes to captains, Rafinha, Dembele, you're going to be your 2 popular ones. You've also got Lewandowski, maybe Kvaratskhelia if you want to go more rogue. Aston Villa and Dortmund, I probably wouldn't be, aiming to have any players from them. They are both, assumed to go out this round and, don't have nice fixtures either. Even though it is still home fixtures, I can't see mainly Dortmund staging a comeback from 4-0 down. Villa, I think there is more of a chance, but I still don't think their players are going to be the best. So I think of your 3 transfers, I think getting Villa and Dortmund players are going to be decent when it comes to Tuesday. For Wednesday, captaincy option. Again, Real have the best fixture. They need to score the most goals. Vinicius and Mbappe are probably going to be your 2 best options. Bellingham as a potential differential. Inter and Bayern I probably would ignore. You could go for a wee differential here or there if you wanted, but that's still a fixture that's going to be very hard to decide. But you do still have, some big superstars in there, Harry Kane, Lautaro Martinez as potential captaincy options. And then Arsenal, as I said, very unlikely that they do win this fixture. Very likely that they do go through to the semi-finals. However, I just think having any Arsenal, I don't see Arsenal players doing too well at all this week. I don't think there's going to be a clean sheet. I don't think they're going to score too many goals. I think it's going to very much be parking the bus, which could be good for the ball recoveries, but I think the likes of David Raya could be decent for saves. I just wouldn't be relying on a clean sheet at all for this week, because I think Real Madrid do go and score a couple of goals. We don't really have too much either to add to the injury list in the past week. Everything here is the same as last week, obviously with Musiala and Schlotterbeck. They both got injured after the video came out, which wasn't ideal, but I think most people got the news before the deadline. In terms of changes, DeMarco is now available. He played 60 minutes at the weekend, and which obviously isn't really good for Carlos Augusto owners, but he did play as the left centre-back while DeMarco was playing left wing-back. I don't think he'll play there in the Champions League, but it is something to keep in mind. Of course, we will get the Inter lineups. There is usually a big leak before that does come out, so make sure to follow me on Twitter and I will post that. Obviously, Inter is the Wednesday game, so we don't get the official lineups. So, relying on leaks is kind of where we get our team information from. So he's looking like he's back. He could be a nice differential. I don't think too many people are going to have him. Again, I don't think they keep a clean sheet. But he's obviously someone who has really good historically been for attacking returns as well. The only other player that has got injured since last week is Balde for Barcelona. Obviously plays as the left back. He picked up a hamstring injury and Barca have confirmed that his time out depends on how well the recovery goes. So that basically rules him out for Tuesday's match, and then it's just a wait and see what happens with him. So like I said, no real changes to the injuries, which means our 3 transfers are going to be able to be used on premium transfers. Anyone that we want to take out can come out, and we don't have any forced transfers to make. Now, as far as the clean sheet odds go, we do have a couple of changes. Again, last week it was very much dominated by PSG and Barcelona, but the odds have drastically reduced. We have no green clean sheet odds at all, the highest being Real Madrid with a 34% chance of a clean sheet. Again, probably wouldn't be looking to bring in any Real Madrid defenders though. They are still given a 15% chance of going through, and whether they actually keep a clean sheet is a different kind of question. Obviously, when it's Arsenal, on the other hand, they are right down the bottom with a 14% chance. Already mentioned, potentially bringing out your Salibas and Timbers and stuff like that. You know, to bring in maybe PSG defenders or Barcelona defenders if you have some room left. But Real Madrid defenders I probably would be looking to avoid, unless maybe you think Rudiger is going to pop up with a goal against Arsenal. I don't think they're really going to be there because they're not up there for ball recoveries. They are the tops for clean sheets, but 34% isn't a drastic amount that you have to go and get Real Madrid defenders, and none of them are really huge for attacking returns either. So if you're going for Real players, it's going to want to be, you know, attackers. So I wouldn't be looking at the defenders. The defence, again, you probably just want to fill with PSG and Barca. I think ball recovery players are going to be huge this week because it really doesn't look as though there's going to be too many clean sheets. So your defensive points are going to be coming from either attacking returns or ball recoveries. We'll look at the best ball recovery players in a little minute. But like I said, yeah, PSG players, Barcelona players are probably going to be the ones that you want to go for in defence. For goal odds, it is similar teams. We do still have PSG, Barca and Real making up the top three. Real Madrid given a 36% chance of 2.5 goals or more. So like I said, Real attackers are probably where you want to go if you can afford to go for some differential players and know that you probably will have to take them out in the next round, obviously if they don't make it through. Vinicius Jr., Bellingham, Mbappe. For Barcelona, you probably have most of them already. Lewandowski, Rafinha, Yamal, you probably don't really have to look too much further than that. But again, you do also have to worry about the slight concern of rotation with Barcelona, is the fact that they're 4-0 up mean that they, you know, potentially rest a couple of players, whether that's early subs or just benching them straight off the bat. Again, follow me on Twitter to make sure you get all the expected lineups before the deadline so you know exactly what is expected to happen when it comes to Barcelona and any other teams' lineups for that matter. PSG the same, 26% chance, so not as much, but again, you probably still have the likes of Dembele and then a couple of differentials, maybe Desiree Doué up top, Barcola, Kvaratskhelia, you know, a couple of really, really nice picks in there. Like I said with Arsenal as well, only a 13% chance, so Arsenal players really don't look that good at all for this week, despite the fact that they are almost through to the semi-finals. You could really make some luxury moves there and move them on to someone who could be a bit better this week. And as for the top 10 for ball recoveries, as I said, I do think these players are going to be huge when it comes to points for this match day. We only have 3 teams available. We've got PSG players, Bayern players and Dortmund players. Now, you really don't want to be bringing in any Dortmund players because they are, you know, a 1% chance of making it through to the semis, so not really looking like a smart transfer. So you can rule out all the Dortmund players. Then you've only got PSG and Bayern. For Bayern, you've got 2 centre-backs in Kim and Upamecano. Upamecano is still injured, so you've only got Kim as a potential option there. So outside of that, it's really just PSG. And again, Pacho, Marquinhos, Mendes, Hakimi, 4 defenders there that look like really, really good picks. If you can, probably having all 4 is looking like a really decent option. You know, they're good for clean sheet odds and they're good for ball recoveries. That's exactly what you need this match day. And then of course we've got João Neves, the only midfielder on this list I don't think is going to be worth having. His ball recoveries aren't huge. You know, he's only got 66 ball recoveries in 13 matches, which isn't, you know, amazing. It's nothing to run home about, and his attacking threat isn't huge. I think there's better PSG midfielders that you can go for. So when it comes to ball recoveries, you're really just looking at the PSG defenders and potentially Kim in there as well. So that is going to be it for today's video. If you did enjoy, please make sure to leave a like on it. My team selection will be out tomorrow, so make sure to subscribe with notifications on so you know exactly when that does come out. For myself, I'm really going to be looking to, you know, take out as many eliminated players as possible. I've still got a couple of Dortmund players that I'm going to have to take out, and potentially an Arsenal defender or two is going to be my moves. I do think Real Madrid attackers is going to be worth it, you know, to bring in and potentially get those points if they get eliminated or not. I still think it's going to be a really nice one, and captaincy wise as well. So let me know what you're doing with your team down in the comments section. Again, leave a like and subscribe if you did enjoy, and I'll see you all in the next one.